walking all around this place, trying to figure out where, if any place, this picture was made. Well, it turns out it was made in a lot of different places. There were parts of it that were made in one place and parts in another. And what Moran and Holmes did is they took little notes and they drew something, and then later on they just put it together. So we determined it was made from about 11 different locations and 11 different drawings in 5 different places. So what we decided to do was try to put it together using different parts. So we went to a place and got that part, and we got that part. And so we kept going around getting the parts that matched up with the drawing as best we could. Now, some of that program's a little bit iffy because I think we made it up, but we got pretty close. And so we're filling it out here, and it's taking a few more pieces, little parts here and there. The tree. Now we were trying to do this so that it looks real, but we didn't want to get it too real because we wanted you to understand this is made up of parts. And right down here in the corner, we have this little part that was significant, made a lizard. And that's supposed to, because he had a snake in his. So the final one looks like this, but it doesn't exist. So we tried to make it look like it did, but if you look carefully, you'll see it doesn't really look real. We call this the Franken-Moran. And that's what it's supposed to look like. And it, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty close.
It's amazing.
That's as good as you can do. And here's another example of that in a little bit different way. What you're seeing here is a watercolor by Thomas Moran that he painted in 1873. And on top of that are photographs that we made of all the parts of the watercolor that we could find that really existed. So that's as close as we could come. He did this watercolor from Dutton Point on the North Rim, or parts of it at least. So we did ours from 3 different locations around Dutton Point, including Dutton Point, and that's as close as we could come to the real thing. This is another fictitious landscape, and we didn't even do anything to this one. I just put it together. These are halves of stereo views made early 20th century. And when they made stereo views of the Grand Canyon, they seemed compelled to put a picture of somebody in the view. Somebody had to be in the picture, or it didn't seem to make sense as a landscape. So these are all people on the edge of the rim. And this, I just put these together into kind of fictitious landscape. All different kinds of people. I love this. There's the cowboy, and then the guy with a suit on with knickers. These guys are like having a board meeting. And you know, but the landscape just keeps continuing in the background. This is continuous landscape, but then the foregrounds change. It just keeps going and going and going. And the final piece looks like this. It's called People on the Edge. One of the sources of photographs that's really useful for us are postcards. And postcards have changed a lot over the years. This is an early one from the early 20th century, a real popular subject, which is, you know, taking the trail down in the canyon and mule rides. And we decided we wanted to do something about the trail, and then of course it's the Bright Angel Trail. So I'm standing there on the lip, over kind of on the edge, overlooking, looking down onto the Bright Angel Trail, and that one section is really steep there, just as you leave the rim area up by the top of the mule rides. And we decided we're going to make a really large image of this. So we end up making this view of the Bright Angel Trail. And you can see all the mules and all the hikers and stuff going down there. Now, one of the things we were trying to do in this project was trying to make a picture, the scale of which would match somehow the canyon. So this particular print that we made, this final print, is larger than the screen you're looking at. It's about 6 by 9 feet big. And it's really detailed. So if you get up to this thing, here's a detail, for example, right here in that little section, and you blow it up. If you get up to this print and you knew who these people were, you could recognize it. And now here's the way we have to do it. You can't possibly take one picture and get this in one image. There just isn't film, or there isn't a digital camera out there that will do it. So what we do is we do it in parts. So I have a special tripod attachment that'll rotate the camera in a certain way, and I'll take a bunch of pictures and put them together to form one piece. So in this particular image, it took me 56 photographs to make this picture. There were 8 across and 7 up and down. And so we had to take those pictures, and then they overlap a little bit, and we use a special software and stitch them together to create a seamless panorama. And what the software does is it does an impeccable job of stitching everything together. So it is really sharp. When you look at it, it's just incredible. You can get right up to it with a magnifying glass, and you can look at every little rock and twig on it. But you can stand back and see it from across the room. It still covers up. But it has the illusion of being at one time. But it was not taken at one time. It was taken at 56 different times. So what we would do is create the entire template of the scene, then go back and sample certain areas where things were happening. So there's a guy riding down in this mule train. He's got a red shirt on. He's like here. He's like over here somewhere. He just keeps it. So it's kind of like a narrative, actually. It's about that space, but it's also about the time it takes for somebody to kind of go through it in one thing. So I like that idea that you could mix the time and space within that scene. And so it sort of dispels the illusion that it's one particular time period. Now, in order to do this, it gets kind of complicated. So Byron was taking notes. On the sleeve, he's got this little graph, and he charted off. And I'd say, "Did I get this one over here?" And he'd say, "No, you got to go back and do it." So we had to keep track of everything. It gets very confusing. So we've used that technique quite often. This is a postcard, pretty common postcard, mid-20th century postcard, of somebody standing on the edge. Well, we made a version of that like this, but it's not postcard size. This is another huge print. So we're playing with scale, and there's no better place to play with scale than the Grand Canyon. This one doesn't have to do with the timing differences, but it's very detailed. That's what part of the detail looks like. And the projection just doesn't do it justice. I mean, it's really, really sharp to look at. We do make small prints too, and this is a postcard that I really liked on the North Rim, Bright Angel Point. And this is probably dating for early 20th century. These people are standing on top of the little knob there at the end of the trail, Bright Angel Point. And people do it today. It's the same thing. Everybody does it. So we go back there. Every time we go back there, we get another picture. Here's our example. This is like, how many people can you get up there? This guy's making a cell phone call. It's a real common thing. This is, just so, and these are very small, so we're going to put out images that are postcard size as well. Now, another thing we tried to do was a lot of photographs were made in the Grand Canyon were stereos, and so we wanted to make some stereo pictures too. The problem is always how to look at them. This was an early stereo photograph by William Bell, 1872, of what he called Perched Rock Creek. Now this is actually right along the road. If you're driving from Marble Canyon over, you cross the bridge and heading over towards Cliff Dwellers. And between Marble Canyon, between the main cliffs and Cliff Dwellers, this is right on the side of the road on the north side, a series of rocks. And so I've been to this place many times. And we wanted to make a stereo of this picture, but we wanted to do it in a little bit different way. So we decided to take a picture of it and then make another picture of it, but we wanted to give you a little bit extra. So we got a little bit on the left, take another picture on the right, extra on the right, so you get a sense of the panoramic view of this feature as it exists today.